Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark of the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1934 romantic comedy, It Happened One Night.
I don't know what you're raving about, young man, and furthermore, I'm not interested.
Hey, that's not fair. You haven't even seen the full review yet. At least give me a chance here. If this is your first time joining me, I'm reviewing every movie in this book, the 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. This is the film that started it all. This is the movie that invented the modern day romantic comedy. It has bickering opposites who are forced together, class conflict. In this film, it is a rich girl and a working man, a road trip structure, gradual emotional softening, and a happy ending based on mutual respect. As I was watching this film, I realized it has the exact same plot as Aladdin. So Aladdin is basically a mixture of this film and 1001 Nights, but the plot is like basically exactly the same. Now, it influenced a lot of other movies. Another one it influenced was Pretty Woman. In that film, the roles are reversed, where Richard Gere is the rich person and Julia Roberts is like the working class woman. So like I said, it invented the modern day rom-com. It influenced every movie basically that came after that. So this film was one of only 3 films in history to win the Big Five at the Oscars. Those are Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, and Best Writing. The other 2 were One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and The Silence of the Lambs. So this is in pretty great company. It was basically the Don Knotts of Oscars. I hope people get that reference. If not, Don Knotts was on the Andy Griffith Show, and for his role as Barney Fife, he was nominated for the Emmys 5 years in a row. He won every year. He's the only person to ever win 5 Emmys in a row for the same performance on the same show. Now, this movie was nominated and won Best Picture, Best Actor in a Leading Role for Clark Gable, Best Actress in a Leading Role for Claudette Colbert, who I had never heard of until I've seen this movie, so I guess I haven't seen enough movies from the 1930s yet. Best Director, Frank Capra, one of my favorite directors of all time. He directed 2 of my favorite movies of all time, It's a Wonderful Life and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and throughout his life he ended up winning 3 Best Director awards. And then Best Writing for Adaptation for Robert Riskin. This is based off a short story called Night Bus. Now, this film, like a lot of the actually almost all of the early 1930 films I've watched so far, is set during the Great Depression, and it's meant to be an uplifting film to show you that you can get through this, you can rise above the Great Depression, and you come out it on the other side better than you were before. So it's trying to give you some sort of hope that things can be good and life isn't always going to be terrible. It offers escapism, hope across class lines, and the idea that love could level social hierarchies. Now, this film was also risque because there's a scene where Clark Gable takes off his shirt. Obviously not risque for today's age, but I'm assuming that this really kind of paved the way for people like Matthew McConaughey. Where would he be if it wasn't for the heroes from the 1930s who took their shirts off in movies? So essentially what this movie is about, we have Clark Gable playing Peter and Claudette Colbert playing Ellie. Ellie is a woman in the beginning of the movie who is going to get married to a gentleman whom her father does not like. So her father decides to take her on a boat trip and try to convince her that this gentleman is only marrying her for her money. Now, she gets upset and she jumps off the boat and into the ocean, and her plan is to go to New York and meet her fiance, whom she loves, adores, and plans to marry. Now, on her way to New York, she has no idea what she's doing. She's a fish out of water. She's like this kind of stuck-up rich person who has never had to do anything herself. Now, she wants to do stuff herself. There's this urge inside of her. There's this, I don't know if you see it towards the end of the movie or later in the movie, but there is this festering inside of her that she wants to be a regular person, that she wants to be able to do her own thing and be able to live her own life and be away from the servants and all the people who are surrounded by her and her little bubble that she has at home. But so far, right now, she has no idea what she's doing. Her bags end up getting stolen while she tries to get on this bus, and Peter sees that her bags are stolen and he rushes after the gentleman, but he can't catch him. And he gets back to Ellie and he says, "Oh, your bags are stolen." And she's devastated by this because it's all that she has, but she's still dead set on getting to New York. So Peter goes on the bus and joins her because he realizes that she is in dire straits and she doesn't know what she's doing. So he gets on the bus and he tries to help her out. Eventually, he realizes that she is this rich heiress this rich woman who is trying to get to see her fiance because it's all in the papers that she ran away. Her dad's looking for her. He's put out this like big reward to help find her, and he basically tells her, "I will help you get to New York, but I am a struggling newspaper man, and I need this story. So I'm going to follow you to New York, where your fiance is, and I'm going to have this story that I'm going to write about you because you're like the big news right now." Now, as they're trying to get to New York, they end up falling in love with each other. So there's a lot of really good scenes in this film. A couple of my favorites, when they first decide they're going to sleep in the same room together, he puts up this like fishing line or this string, and on the string he puts sheets, and he calls this the walls of Jericho. And basically, you can't bring down the walls of Jericho because this is what's separating the two together. But then later in the movie, as they're falling in love with each other, and he wants to marry her and he wants to be with her, he talks more about bringing the walls of Jericho down. And I just love that reference because whenever there's like a problem in the relationship or whenever it doesn't seem like they're going to get together, I just think of them as trying to bring down the walls of Jericho and be able to be together with each other. There's another really great scene where they're on a bus and they're singing the Daring Young Man on the Flying Trapeze. It's like one of the few song instances in this movie, but it's very uplifting, and I could see how this scene would be something that would be a positive during the Great Depression, where these people are all down on their luck. They're having a really hard time financially, but they can all come together and sing this song that they all know, and for like a brief moment in their life they can be happy. It's like a dreary rainy day, and it's just very sad and bleak, but they're singing this song and they're all very happy at the same time. They all forget their worries and their troubles and the things that are going on in their lives, and they're able to just come together. It doesn't matter what class you are, how rich you are, the rich woman, the working class man, they all know the same song, and they're all just able to have this really fun time together. And I really like that scene a lot. I really like what it says about what this movie is trying to say during the Great Depression era. And then finally, I think a very famous scene, probably the most famous scene in this entire film, is where Clark Gable's character, Peter, he's really smug and he thinks he knows everything, and he's this worldly person who has traveled the world and knows everything about it. He's trying to tell Claudette Colbert's character how to hitchhike, and he has like all these different methods that he came up with hitchhiking. He's like, this one's what you do when you think you got the old man's got a bundle and stuff like that. And he's all like, you have one of these quick ones like this, and then there's like this nonchalant over the shoulder thing. And it's like all these ones that he invented, and he says he's gonna write a book about it, and then he tries to actually do it when a car comes by and the car just speeds by him. Well, then she's like, well, I have my own method of doing this, and she kind of hikes up her dress, her skirt, and then like a car slams on its brakes and stops. It's a hilarious part of the film, and it's also showing kind of like what his mindset is and who he is as a person. Now later throughout the movie, he kind of he has a character arc which leaves him less about himself and less like into himself, and I just think it's a really funny scene. It's shot really well. One thing I want to say about this film is that it is gorgeous. The cinematography is beautiful. I don't know why it wasn't nominated for anything for cinematography. Every shot is fantastic. I love black and white. There's black and white rainy scenes in this movie. It just looks spectacular. It looks gorgeous. I mean, just watching each scene really drew me in. I didn't even need them to be great actors and actresses, which they were. Just looking at this beautiful film was enough for me to be completely into it, and it had my attention from the very beginning, and it never lost it. So eventually a circumstance happens where Peter decides he's going to propose to Ellie, but he doesn't have the money to do it. So he goes back to the person, his newspaper boss, and he says, look, I have this story that I want to give you where Ellie is going to not marry her fiance when she gets back to New York. She's going to marry someone else, and that someone's me. The newspaper boss doesn't believe him at first, but Peter eventually gets him to believe that this is actually something that's going to happen, and he gets this money advanced to him. Well, unfortunately, Peter's doing all of this while Ellie is asleep, and she wakes up and she finds that Peter is not there anymore, so she thinks that Peter has left her. So she calls up her dad and she goes back to New York, and she decides that she is actually going to marry her fiance because she was basically left at the altar by Peter. So of course Peter's a bit jaded by this, and he calls Ellie gets super emotional at home, and she tells her father that she's in love with someone else, but he doesn't love her, and she's going to go through with the wedding because there's no other choice. Like, love doesn't matter to her anymore. She could marry anyone and it wouldn't matter because it's not Peter. So this seems like the practical thing to do. So she's just going to marry this fiance. Now Peter reaches out to Ellie's father and says, look, there's some money that I'm owed. Now Ellie's father thinks that this is the reward that he put out. It was like $10,000 for a reward if you find his daughter. So he invites Peter over to his house, and they get to talking, and Peter doesn't want the reward. He doesn't care about it. All he wants is the money that he spent on Ellie while they were trying to get to New York. So there's like some shirts that he's owed, and there's like food that he bought and hotel prices. It comes to like $10 or so, like some small amount of money. Back then it was more. I'm sure it was worth more, but it's like some small amount of money. And Ellie's dad says, don't you want the reward money? And Peter's like, I don't care about the reward money. I just want what's due. And Ellie's father ends up dragging out of Peter that Peter is in love with Ellie. And then later on, when the wedding scene is happening, Ellie's father's walking her down the aisle, and he says, look, this guy Peter loves you, and you'd be a fool not to marry him, because this person you're marrying now, he's just after you for your money. I could buy 20 of these guys, and it wouldn't matter. All they want is your money. Peter didn't want your money. He didn't even want the reward money. All he wanted was the money that he spent on you. He doesn't care about any of that. He loves you for who you are, not for your fame, not for the fortune, not for the riches. This is the guy that you should marry. You should marry Peter. She ends up leaving the altar and going to marry Peter, and that's the entire film. This movie is great. This is a perfect 10 out of 10. It is a great romantic comedy. It is funny. It is uplifting. It is emotional. It is heartfelt. Even though it is one of those films, I mean, obviously in a movie, you only have a limited amount of time. But it's one of those films where the relationship happens very quickly. They fall in love very quickly. Everything moves very fast. But I would say, since you can see the beginning of the relationship and the ending of it, it's actually believable. I believed that these were two people who could come together. These were two people who, were at in their lives, they needed someone. They needed a special person to just spark something in their life, and they both got that with each other. So I believe this relationship. I thought they did very well together. They played off each other very well, and this is just a very well-made movie. I'm still blown away by how much I love the black and white scenes, the cinematography in this film. It's just shot gorgeous, and of course, like, it's Frank Capra, so of course it's gonna look great. Like, one of the finest directors of all time. But this movie just looks amazing. It's acted beautifully. The script is perfect. It's funny. It is a 10 out of 10. Perfect 10 out of 10. I hope you join me next time when I review a movie that is not a perfect 10 out of 10, and that is called The Black Cat. Thank you. Have a great day.